There are so many downsides to inline skating. They take longer to put on than simply hopping on a bike. Most places won't let you in with your skates on, and let's face it, it's not the most popular sport out there. That's just to say a few things that make inline skating not the most convenient sport out there. So, is inline skating as good as we skaters say it is? What's up YouTube? It's Alex, and today we're gonna take a deep dive into the sport of inline skating to see if it's really as good as we think. We're going to talk about equipment, accessibility, community, and the kind of controversial popularity of inline skating among other things. While we do this, I'll be sharing a non-edit video of a recent session in which I skate on the trails and streets. I don't usually post unedited videos. This is actually the first time I do this, but it's with the purpose of giving a transparent visual idea of how imperfect a simple session can look. And let's start with this. Inline skating does not look cool. Other than aggressive skating and maybe speed skating, us, the more recreational skaters, don't look so cool out there. And it's something that we probably don't even think, because I am one that believes that I look awesome when I'm flowing through the city. But the reality is that for non-skating people, we look kinda goofy. Another way to support this is that we skaters criticize each other's ways of skating, most times in a constructive criticism type of way, but there's also the offensive type of comments out there. The thing is, if we think we look funny amongst each other, imagine how non-skating people look at us. And because it relates a little, let's talk about our community. Not so long ago, I used to think that we had a perfect community, that anyone on skates was automatically a cool person, worth of hanging out with and calling a friend. Mostly because when I started skating and watching videos about it in social media, it was always depicted as a small community that only passionate individuals for the sport would be involved, oftentimes making it sound like it was perfect. And I believe this is mostly true, and that we have one of the best communities that exists right now. But sadly, it's not perfect, and definitely not everyone on skates is a cool person. I've met very few skaters that I have wished not to ever come across again. Very few, but I have. There's always a bad apple, even in the inline skating community. Another thing that can be considered bad about our community is that it's a smaller one, and finding people to skate with is not as easy as it would be with other sports. Even though there is a weekly group skate in almost every major city, at least in the US, it's not always easy to make it to these events if you don't live near the area. So if you like to enjoy activities in a group environment, that could be hard with inline skating. A frustrating thing about inline skating is that it's too confusing and painful. It has more variations than most sports out there, some of them being recreational, aggressive, slalom, downhill, and the list goes on. This can make it confusing for new people considering to try the sport, and once you look up a few videos in social media about skating, you get bombarded with videos of all types of skating. And if you have real interest, they all end up getting your attention. Some appear to be more fun, some look easier than others, but they all have one thing in common: a certain degree of risk. So which one are you going to pick? In my opinion, falling is a big part of inline skating, especially in the beginning when you're learning the basics. And once a possible inline skater realizes this, the chances of trying it out get slimmer. And for those that end up trying it anyways, the fear of falling and getting hurt is always there. As a consequence, most people quit skating shortly after starting because of a bad fall, even if it didn't end up with a serious injury. Now, let's talk about skates. If there's a lot of variations of skating, there's even more variations of skates. There's skates for every kind of skating and more. There's the good, the better, the bad, and the really bad. There are skates out there that are so bad they shouldn't even exist. So if you think it's hard to choose a type of skating, it's even harder to pick a pair of skates. And there are so many content creators in the inline skating community trying to sort this out so that especially new skaters know exactly what to buy when they are trying to skate for the first time. But At the end, most people end up in the place where you can find it all, Amazon. And I think most people end up buying the wrong pair of skates. And I'm speaking from experience. I bought my first pair of skates in a rush. After watching I don't know how many hours of urban skating videos, I just purchased the first pair of skates I saw with the same size of shoe I wore. And not only they were the wrong pair of skates, it also turns out that it's best to buy skates at least one size smaller than what you wear on your shoes. You see, skates are designed for performance over comfort, so even the most comfortable skates have to fit snug for better performance. So I wasn't even close to having the right pair of skates. Hell, even after getting some knowledge to buy the right type of skates, I struggled to pick with the huge variety on that category. All of this talk about skates reminds me of yet another downside of skating, and that is the accessibility. Being that it's so hard to pick the right pair of skates, the most recommended thing to do is to go to a skate shop and talk to a knowledgeable person so that they can point you in the right direction and you can sit down and actually try the skates before you buy them. But that is a lot harder than it sounds for most people. Skate shops with good variety of inline skates are not common in every town. Sporting stores carry very limited selection of skates, and the stuff that you find in big box stores should be illegal. And if you happen to get a good pair of skates, you have to be lucky enough to live in an area that is skate friendly. I know that once a skater is intermediate to advanced, it can venture out to rough surfaces and expand his skating horizons. But for beginners, it's necessary to have a place that is at least relatively smooth to learn. Ideally a skate rink, but even a basketball court or tennis court would do. The thing is that once you know the basics, it's likely you're going to want to put your new skills to the test and maybe go for a skate around the neighborhood or even hit the trail. Again, that's if you're lucky enough to have access to a decent version of the previous mentioned. Now let's talk about inline skating's kind of controversial history. While it's true that inline skating regained popularity in the year 2020, mostly because of people looking for activities that would be considered socially distant during the pandemic, and a lot of people who were just bored and not able to work and with a lot of time in their hands that simply decided to revisit the sport, this is not compared to the huge popularity of inline skating between the mid-80s and late 90s. It was actually considered one of the fastest growing sports in the US, and with the X Games debut in 1995 featuring 4 inline skating events, the future for the sport looked promising. That's up until 2005 when the X Games removed all the inline skating events. It is said that it was because of a decline in participation on the sport, not enough sponsorship, and a shift in the X Games focus. But there's also the so-called war between skating and skateboarding. Also having part on the X Games, skateboarding was already an established culture with a well-known rebel image, and they saw inline skaters as outsiders, often making fun of them, referring to them as less cool and less macho because of the natural motion of skating and the prevalence of protective gear amongst inline skaters, eventually associating the sport with homosexuality. It's believed that this indirectly had a lot to do with the removal of inline skating from the X Games. So, if there are so many downsides and inconveniences in this sport, why is it that we inline skaters believe it's so good? When it comes to this, I can only speak for myself. And I don't want to use all the research that's behind the sport, which is really good and it speaks for itself. I want to share with you how I feel. And I'm going to start by saying that I love inline skating. And it's likely that nothing I'm about to say is going to feel like it's enough to describe how much. Skating has become a big part of who I am, and it's in almost every aspect of my life. It's how I have fun. Obviously, it's a part of my exercise routine, and because it's so fun, it's hard to realize sometimes I'm exercising. It's my form of meditation. When I am out there enjoying a session, somehow it's easier to gather my thoughts and to put them in order. The feeling after every session is of joy and some sort of mental clarity that helps me to address anything that comes after with ease and confidence. I get to share it with my family. I have made new friends. I take them everywhere I go, giving me the opportunity to explore new places while I have fun. I strap them to get my groceries, and like most of you know, I have even used them to make money completing deliveries on skates. And yes, I know it's been a little while since I posted my last delivery on skates video. I promise I will have one out soon. And since we drifted a little bit from the topic, I'm going to take the opportunity to say thank you to all my subscribers and everybody stopping by to watch the videos. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and if you're new to the channel, check out the rest of the content, and if you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe. And to continue with what I was saying, yes, skating has become a big part of who I am, and in a fairly short amount of time. And yes, skating is probably never going to be as popular as it once was, but that is because skating is not a trendy thing, it's a lifestyle, and it takes time to learn, and it hurts sometimes, and it can be confusing, but good things in life usually take time, and learning something new, it's a process. When it comes to what people might think of us when we're out there enjoying something that we love, I really couldn't care less. Inline skating to me is not about how cool it makes me look. It's about how it makes me feel. It's one of those things where you have to trust the process, learn the basics, get better, and then you'll be able to experience what this sport has to offer. The speed on a downhill, the ability to navigate the urban environment, the complexity and precision of slalom, the talent and skill of aggressive skating, or the power and elegance of speed skating. It doesn't matter which one you pick, you will experience an adrenaline rush like no other. And what about all the other inconveniences related to inline skating? All I can say is that it doesn't matter in what sport discipline you get involved, there's always going to be negatives. And if me and every other skater out there has learned to overcome all the downsides of inline skating, then I can tell you for sure, anyone can. And that's gonna be it for me. I'm gonna let you guys enjoy the rest of the video. Don't forget to stay active, get creative, and have fun. I'll see you guys on the next one.